As we resume our studies in the Gospel of Mark, we come to a very strange passage, and a rather long one too, so without further delay allow me to read chapter 13 to you. As Jesus was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings." "Do you see all these great buildings?" Jesus replied. "Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives opposite the temple, Peter, James, John and Andrew asked him privately, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign that they are all about to be fulfilled?" Jesus said to them, "Watch out that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name, claiming I am he, and will deceive many. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise up against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places and famines. These are the beginning of birth pains. You must be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and flogged in the synagogues. On account of me, you'll stand before governors and kings as witnesses to them, and the gospel must first be preached to all nations. Whenever you're arrested and brought to trial, do not worry beforehand about what to say. Just say whatever is given to you at the time, for it's not you speaking, but the Holy Spirit. Brother will betray brother to death, and father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. Everyone will hate you because of me. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down or enter the house to take anything out. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that this will not take place in winter, because those will be days of distress unequalled from the beginning, when God created the world, until now, and never to be equalled again. If the Lord had not cut short those days, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect whom he has chosen, he has shortened them. At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here's the Messiah," or "Look, there he is," do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. So be on your guard. I have told you everything ahead of time. But in those days following that distress, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At that time, people will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory, and he will send his angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of the heavens. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But about that time what hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Be on your guard, be alert. You do not know when that time will come. It's like a man going away. He leaves his house and puts his servants in charge, each with their assigned task, and tells the one at the door to keep watch. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, whether in the evening or at midnight, or when the rooster crows, or at dawn. If he comes suddenly, do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to everyone, watch. In this action gospel, the present discourse is the longest of the book. Clearly Mark regarded it as of immense importance, yet it's a very puzzling chapter. And there are probably as many interpretations as there are interpreters. About all that can be said with certainty is that Jesus teaches about both the fall of Jerusalem and his return. But which verses refer to what is sometimes a mystery. Nevertheless, enough is clear to indicate that there are lessons of abiding and vital relevance that we all need to hear from this passage. Jesus has but recently spoken in terms which suggested that Judaism, as the disciples knew it, was nearing its end. We saw this especially in chapters 12, verses 1 to 12. And chapter 13 opens with the disciples still trying to puzzle through how this related to the glory, grandeur, and the sheer there-ness of the temple. In the following verses they were still struggling. If Jerusalem fell, then surely that meant the end of everything. They found themselves therefore on what I call a pilgrimage towards truth and understanding. At the same time, Jesus emphasizes that truth does exist. Categorically, he says, "Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away." So the calling of the disciples and us was to seek little by little to conform their thinking to that truth. Watchfulness, a major theme in this chapter, is impossible without knowing what to watch for. Consequently, we need humility when we set forth the truth and acknowledge the limitations of our understanding of divine things, but there is a truth to which we must seek to conform our own thoughts. However, the main body of this chapter teaches, I believe, three great lessons to live by. The first is we must avoid unnecessary distractions. Christian pilgrims, as John Bunyan knew and illustrated in his Pilgrim's Progress, can easily be sidetracked. Recognition of this danger seems to lie behind Jesus' decision to give this particular discourse. So when the disciples ask for signs of the end times, Jesus proceeds to do three things. First of all, he lists all those things which are not signs. He lists considerable wars, rumours of conflict, natural disasters, persecution, betrayal, martyrdom. Later he adds false teachers who seek by their miracles to claim authenticity for their errors. But the end is still to come, he says. These are only birth pangs. Yet how frequently Christians make Jesus' words mean the opposite. Secondly, he lists those things which are signs, but which will either be self-evident or only signs in retrospect. Meanwhile, he says, people need to learn about me. And thirdly, and rather outrageously, he says, even he doesn't know when his return will be. Now, if this is so, speculation by us is utterly ridiculous. There's something very down to earth about Jesus' teaching here. Let the future look after itself, he says, and meanwhile get on with your Christian calling. So we do well to heed and avoid all unnecessary diversions which distract us from our calling. The second thing that Jesus teaches us is that we are not to worry. Simply, Jesus sets before us the principle that there are circumstances beyond our control into which our faith will lead us. Rather than worry, especially about whether or not we shall be able to sustain a consistent witness, we can trust God's Spirit to help us if we really are his disciples. Lastly, Jesus calls his disciples to be watchful. This advice occurs right at the beginning of Jesus' words, at the very heart of his instructions, and is repeatedly made at the end. The charge lies at the very centre of what Jesus is trying to teach. But what are we to watch for? I think we can identify three things. First, we're not to become obsessed with the signs of the times. The reasons for this should now be, of course, quite obvious. But secondly, we do need to be wary of false teaching, especially false teaching concerned with speculation about those end times. And finally, we need to ensure that we keep diligently to the task that God has assigned us. Not least because this will ensure that we're ready whenever he comes. Jesus is coming again. In the meanwhile, speculation about when is pretty useless. What Christian disciples are called to is to progress in truth, avoiding all unnecessary distractions, watchfully seeking to guard their witness, and evangelizing the world so that when Jesus does return, he will be delighted with them and he will be delighted with us.